This is Hashem.
Oh, it's okay. I don't want
Creamer for the.
Oh, I'll take it with me.
Okay. Just. This is Alan's. I hope not.
Perfect. I can't believe I see Krispy Kreme donuts. They have an advertisement. Buy a Krispy Kreme, we support the Palestinian children. We're raising money for the Palestinian children.
Really?
That's what someone told me. They were Krispy Kreme last night and saw that.
Quick, switch the company.
All right, quick, throw the one with garbage.
We're finding
That's what I saw. I
out
didn't
now
verify it,
that
but they
he's
sent
made
me
them
something
worse
saying
than
that
they saw.
raising money for Palestinian children.
Really?
Bringing milk.
I mean, I don't know if there's anything against raising money for Palestinian children.
There we go.
Did you hear that Rabbi Kaufman said? Probably not. Not the thing to the city council. He spoke to the alumni, and it was not recorded. But I don't know, word could get around. He said straight out, Rabbi said, there are no innocents. We're at war. They're teaching them from birth to kill us. Don't let them fool you.
It's actually just going to.
She is the recognition of helping cup, and the boy would hold the cup.
What amazed me was that first 5 minutes or so that CNN was actually being impartial. It was about 5 minutes. It was at the very beginning.
Morning.
All right. Oh, that's right. I forgot. There was a reason for this. I have to send Josh his invitation.
Okay. I think I'll begin. I'm missing Harvey this week. Okay, good morning. I'd like to thank everybody for coming, some from far and wide. Kadosh Baruch Hu has many plans of how he orchestrates who's here, who's not. Today, I wanted to continue. Last week we started talking about the situation that Eretz Yisroel is in, but really the Jews of the world are in. And last week we did the Halachos. We went through some shilos that come up during war, which unfortunately there are many shilos. Last week we just touched on 3 of them. Today I wanted to also deal with the topic at a crisis, at a time when Klal Yisrael is at war, specifically the recital of Tehillim, Amiras Tehillim. And I want to get involved in understanding about Tehillim. Now, if you think about it, the situation really is very bleak. If anyone, didn't appreciate the nature of the battle, in Eretz Yisrael, I saw many Gedolim talk about the fact that, by nature, we have a certain reliance on the Israeli army. After 1967, the 6-Day War, where it was a situation where everyone thought Eretz Yisrael was in such extreme danger from all sides. And the army swiftly, quote unquote, one of the greatest military plans, had a preemptive strike and knocked out all the enemies and captured more territory, more parts of Eretz Yisrael. People viewed that as such, unfortunately, such strength. Many people who, Baruch Hashem, became Bali Tshuva, but they missed that the ultimate general is HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and those words weren't expressed enough. And unfortunately, that's why many people said that the Yom Kippur War happened, where Israel got demolished in the beginning. They ended up, but it was Lamaisa. We need reminders. I saw one of the Gedolei Hador said, it's been 50 years since the Yom Kippur War. And Chazal say 50 years is a lifetime, is a period of, it's like a yovel. And sometimes you need new reminders. And the fact that the enemy literally just crossed over the border, and with all, the high tech that Israel is known for, not just in the military sector, but the business sector, with all the gadgets and all the planes and all the drones, the Maisa, they shechted Yidden like no time since the Holocaust. And even to utter the words, now it's different because now we have an army. If you really analyze it honestly, it's very weak. Especially when you see the situation. It's not just an operation that Israel is doing against one front. The Hamas terrorists, you have Hezbollah in the north. You saw there was a missile launch from Yemen. Never had to deal with that before, which had to be shot down by U.S. warships. From all sides, battlefronts that never existed before. And you see Rahman al-Islam around the world, but you see very well in America the amount of outright hatred and outright sinas Yisroel. And you see people willing to, put their lives at stake to attack us. We really do not, we're outmanned, we're outpowered, and it's something that from a natural perspective, we can't be somich on things. The only thing we have to be somich on is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's pashut. The greatest weapon that we have, our Chazal say, is our tefillah. And we know that one of the big elements of tefillah that we usually go to is David HaMelech's Tehillim. So today's share, I'd like to get hopefully a better understanding of what we're doing when we're saying Tehillim, what's the power behind Tehillim, and Be'ez Hashem, we can all use these kolchos, from our spot here in America, and do a lot for Achinu Kol Beis Yisrael.
Amen.
Now, the first pose a few questions which come up in general in Halachos Tehillim. There's discussion in the poskim, is one allowed to recite Tehillim at night? Tehillim is Devarim Shebeksav, it's Torah Shebeksav. And normally there's an idea from Chazal that Torah Shebeksav you don't do at night. So there's one recite Tehillim at night. On top of that, there's a discussion people have about Tehillim that also Devarim Shebeksav, you're not really allowed to say them al peh. So what happens by Tehillim? Many times people recite Tehillim by heart. Okay, sometimes when you say, ones we're not as familiar with, okay, people look inside a siddur, but should people really be saying Tehillim by heart or not? It's a wonderful thing. I saw in one of the shuls, they had Art Scroll itself printed up, their Tehillim with an English translation, the prakim that the Gdolim said that we should say, at this time. So, it's a tremendous, tremendous thing, right? It's wonderful. Really when it comes to Tehillim also, many times there are different prakim which are recommended. What's that based on? Last night, someone was asking me why they say this one versus that one. Very good questions. And on top of that, really, what are the halachos of Tehillim at time of an Eis Sarah? Does the boundaries of when we say Tehillim, how much we say Tehillim, does that change? And how does it change? So I'd like to begin to answer the last question first. That's practically what we have in front of us. Normally when it comes to Shabbos, for example, we do not say Tehillim for a sick person. Shabbos imalizo ufura krovalava. On Shabbos is not the time that we scream out for Tehillim. It's not proper for the kavod of the day. But that's only in a situation where a person's saying Tehillim for a person who's sick, a person who's in, some situation, a stable situation. But a situation where Rahman Son is pikuach nefesh, a person's life is at stake. So then there's a heter for one to recite Tehillim on Shabbos. The situation that we were in since Shmini Atzeres, and unfortunately it's in that sense, it stayed the same. It's been a situation of total pikuach nefesh. No question about it. I remember we happened to find out here in yeshiva about it. It was right, in the middle of davening. So, Luban, we chose to say Tehillim right after Yizkor. The whole tzibur gathered together. Luban announced what was going on. And we said Kapitel Tehillim right there in the middle of davening. L'maisa, I spoke to some people. It's very interesting what to do Tehillim on Shabbos. Someone told me that in the Lakewood Yeshiva, they gave me Eidos not from this time but from other times. So I assume it's still the same. When it comes to Shabbos and there's a chole, a sukkah, it's a very dangerous situation. Their minhag is to say specifically the shir hamalos, which are found in the Siddurim after Mincha on Shabbos. The one says on Shabbos. He says what they would do is they would divide up those 15 shir hamalos. They would say them 5 shir hamalos 3 times on Shabbos. Say after davening Friday night, Shabbos day, and by Mincha, they would divide those up. But interestingly, they would not say pasuk by pasuk out loud. There'll be a clap. Everyone should say these 5 kapitals. That's what they do there. I asked around, spoke to other poskim, is that the minhag, outside of there, it's different, is that no, the same way that we recite Tehillim during the week, we recite Tehillim on Shabbos. Included in that are not the things beyond the Shir Malos. Pei Gimel, which is one of the kapitlas, which Adom said to say, we would say that on Shabbos too. And we would do it pasuk by pasuk. The same way we do during the week. I asked also, looked into, what about Achinok Beis Yisroel? That's a certain tefillah that normally you say after you put back, when you're putting back the Sifrei Torah, right before you put it back, Ashkenaz, right? On laning days. But on days when there's no Tachnun, you don't recite Achinok. So is it proper to recite the tefillah of Achinok Beis Yisrael on Shabbos, a day which you don't normally recite Tachnun? Or do we say, no, we just recite Tehillim? So here too, I spoke to Postik, says, no, we would say even the tefillah of Achenu, even any other Tehillim that we normally would not say on a Shabbos, on a day when there's no Tachnun, for example, Lamed Seach, Kapitel Chaf, that too one could say on Shabbos. Basically, anything that you do during the week regarding Tehillim to help save a situation of Pikuach Nefesh, you do that too on Shabbos. And like here, for example, in Yeshiva, we would say Tehillim after every single tefillah. Now, okay, Mincha by you could do it, the tziburs together, you could do it right after Mincha, Friday afternoon, before Shabbos. No dafka wait till after Ma'ariv, but Shabbos morning, Shabbos afternoon, Erev Vog B'chol Yom Tamid, something that Klal Yisrael needs, and we shouldn't underestimate the power that our Tehillim has.
I mean, just coming from Eretz Yisroel, I can testify that the situation they say there is, Rahman Sulam, the worst since the show of the Holocaust.
Right. We were very lucky, Keach, but Luban's brother-in-law, happened to be, his flight stopped here in Florida on the way back from Eretz Yisrael.
Yeah, I couldn't get a flight to Chicago where I lived, but I got a flight to here.
So you hear first-hand account. It's, yeah. Yes.
We say Shabbos is docha everything else, but Pikuach Nefesh is docha. And Shabbos, if we say Tehillim, are clearly part of Pikuach Nefesh, then why would there even be a shiloh about saying Tehillim on Shabbos? It would be, again, Pikuach Nefesh.
You're correct. So 100% we say Tehillim on Shabbos because that's part of what we do for Pikuach Nefesh, 100%.
So there wouldn't be a
Yeah.
shiloh.
Yes, correct.
Like,
Yeah.
everybody was at all the posting were everybody was asking posting what
Yeah.
to do. So I'm just
Yeah. Usually the shalosh just is what's the level of the tzara? How bad is it? But unfortunately, the tzara, there's no question.
Very serious.
Now, hashtas, yes.
there any contrast between this and people who say Tehillim every day? So whether you're doing it by the day of the month or whether you're doing it by the day of the week, on Shabbos, is there any issue?
Right, very, very good question. Right. What we're talking about exactly is saying Tehillim for an Ace Sarah. So normally those type of things nervous of people who just have the minhag to say the Yom HaChodesh, the Yom. So that people do on Shabbos too, 100%. That's in a different Amira. This time they're going through Tehillim. We'll see soon. You're allowed to learn, of course, say for Tehillim on Shabbos. But to say it as a tza'aka, as crying out, especially b'tzibur, that's where these things are more of a shayla. Now, what's our understanding? What is the power of Tehillim? Why do we pick Tehillim? What's special about it that, through the ages is funny? You go beyond the Tehillim, what people are doing for Eretz Yisroel, you ask 5 Yidden, you get 6 different answers, right? Everyone picks different things, and there's all different areas that people could use as a skula for Eretz Yisroel. But Tehillim is universal. Everyone's saying Tehillim. Where does this koach come from? What? How is it that Tehillim became so accepted as the go-to thing for these types of situations? So the Pashut idea, and this Ben said over in Yeshiva, others write, is Tehillim was written, what we know, by David HaMelech, but the way that David HaMelech with his Ruach HaKodesh wrote Tehillim is a tefillah, a tza'aka that was made for all situations, for all times. Tehillim is not just David HaMelech's personal life story, the chases that he had, the tsaros that he had. So he expressed himself poetically with tefillos to Hashem. No. It's much more than that. David HaMelech's Tehillim was written for all doros. And it's eerie when you open up a Tehillim and you read the lines of what David HaMelech is talking about. You feel like he's right there with you, describing what's going on today. Olei Edom v'Yishmaelim, right? Rachmal on the Lashonos, right? Of Shafchu Damim Kamayim Svivos Yerushalayim Ve'in Kover. That happened just now. It's such a Rachmanas, but at the same time, it's such a Nechama and such a powerful tefillah that the words of Tehillim are describing what we're going through.
Well, why can't it be that it is what Rabbi originally said, which is that it is his. It's going through it.
Right.
I mean, there's, he's not one of the avos, but Lamaisa, it's he's going through everything, and there's nothing new under the sun.
Right.
And he had all.
Right.
More powerful, the words that he wrote are more powerful because he went through the Maisa.
Right.
He could empathize and therefore understood much more deeply what it was and could extrapolate for all generations.
I think it's even stronger than that because you have like Al Noros Babel, which didn't even happen yet he wrote a whole paragraph on it.
Right. Tehillim is absolutely fascinating, and the more we'll see soon that you study Tehillim, you understand what Tehillim is about, the more amazing it is. It really is something which has so much depth and so much power to it. So that, I believe, is a simple Pasha understanding that we always had in Tehillim. L'maisa, we actually shared this a couple of years ago, right after David Feinstein was niftar. So we gave a share on David Feinstein. And one of the things I found in the ksavim of some of his talmidim was very interesting, very, very interesting. That was the first time I encountered this. That David Feinstein said that we'll hack on the exact lashon in a moment, but an ikar component of Tehillim is limud haTorah. The power behind Tehillim comes from the fact that it's Torah. It's one of the Sfarim of Tanakh, and there's a special koach to that Torah. To the extent, I remember this story like yesterday, and I think it is very important for the situation we're in. When 9/11 happened, the World Trade Centers fell. That happened literally right outside the door of Yeshiva Masifta Tiferes Yisroel. Moshe Feinstein's yeshiva, Dov Feinstein was there. And the Talmidim of the yeshiva saw the buildings on fire. Everyone ran, it happened during breakfast time, after davening. They ran into the base medrash and they're all saying Tehillim. Rav David was away from the base medrash after Shacharis. Rav David came back into the base medrash and everyone's fervently saying Tehillim. Literally, they're the yeshiva, the base medrash, the only yeshiva there in Manhattan. They're the ones who saw it with their own eyes. The Tehillim going on in MTJ at that time was obviously right there. And Rav David Feinstein walks into the base medrash, goes to the front, goes to his seat, opens up Gemara, and starts to learn. Everyone's like a little confused, like the Tzibur saying Tehillim. And Rav David just sat and learned. And the way that I heard the story was that, okay, then the Talmidim followed suit and they began morning Seder, like the Rosh Hashiva. But part of the Havana, Rav David says, that story makes a lot of sense in what he writes, that Tehillim, the part and parcel, the koch of Tehillim, is the Limud Torah. Now, why exactly this Limud Torah versus other Limud Torah? We'll see. But this is something, it caught my attention a couple of years back, when David was Nifter. Then I found Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach says the same thing. If you look in the Halachos Shlomo, it's on top of the sheets. Firstly, he in the beginning of the piece, he writes that the importance is always kedai when you say Tehillim for a chola or for a situation, you should focus the tzibur. Okay, we're saying Tehillim for this person. Stop. That's the first thing he writes. But in the fourth line, he writes, "V'amira sefer Tehillim, im lechavim pirish inin kipshuto, k'derech shemechavim b'shar tefilos." Normally, by other tefilos, Shlomo Zalman writes, this is the way we could do it. When you say the words of tefillah, you could utilize those words of tefillah on a personal level. You're reading not necessarily the words of David HaMelech. You're using that language to express yourself in your situation. That's what tefillah is. It's my prayer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, asking Hashem to listen to my tefillah. He says, no, you don't do that. Yishum de ikr mal yosel shal miz tefillim al pi apshat hi mishum Talmud Torah. The ma'ila of Tehillim is because it's Talmud Torah. It's because you're learning Torah. Quotes the Lashon of the Rambam. Klomar, shekori v'lo made pirkei Tehillim shomer David HaMelech. Shemit b'kitzvah kodesh. You're saying psukim in the Torah. So the same way when you learn Torah, you don't make up pshatim in what the psukim mean. The psukim have a perush. You're learning what the Torah is saying, not injecting your personal feelings and ideas. You're learning the Torah. So too, when you say Tehillim, you have to say Tehillim with the Pashut translation, understanding of what the psukim are saying. Very interesting.
Today's
Yes.
Zayin Cheshvan is the Yurtzeit of Rav Meir Shapiro Zatzal, the Miyased of the Daf Yomi. So all of those who learn Daf Yomi, or otherwise who learn Talmud Bavli,
Right.
He should be mispal for us and for all of Kol Yisroel from his place in Gan Eden. He should be zocha us to overcome this tzara and to bring the Gula Shlema.
Amen. Oh, you're right. Tehillim, in a certain sense, is like a block Gemara, in a certain sense. Now, Shlomo Zalman goes on to explain, so why dafka do we pick Tehillim? Why not learn anything else? So he says there's another, that part of Tehillim are the words of Devekus of David HaMelech with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So it's a great way of connecting us to Hashem, not just through Limud Torah, which you could have in the Goyim and Olos or anything else, Torah, But the Torah of David HaMelech, that's something which connects us to Hashem on a greater level. Okay?
So why should we pick particular kapitulach Tehillim?
Oh, so we're going to get that in a moment. Now, to me, this idea sounded very chiddishtik. I actually went around yesterday talking to a couple people about this. Like the first idea we say Tehillim because it's the best tefillah. But here, what Rosh Zalman is saying in print, and I found from the fine thing which is also in print, this Shal Tshuva's Yad David that was recently printed. I had the original edition. I inherited from Rabbi Neumann. So there, yes, there's such an idea that Tehillim is Limud HaTorah. I was wondering, okay, like this is like a chiddush of Shlomo Zalman. I didn't know of this from Moshe Feinstein. Is this something that people take into account? So it was interesting. Yesterday, someone in the community came over to me. They get the emails. He says, Rabbi Kier, I see you giving a share on Tehillim. Here, I found lying around the kollel this sefer on Tehillim. He gives me the sefer. Okay? Thank you, I appreciate it. People always, come to me with, I open up the sefer. So, right, Luban taught me, you open the sefer, you read it from the beginning. So, I started reading from the beginning, Lahaskamas. One of the Lahaskamas the person got, it's Rabbi Shai Tahan. It's a Sephardi Rav in Brooklyn. One of the Haskamas he got is from Rabbi Yisroel Reisman, big Rosh Hashiva, Rav, in Brooklyn. And besides the Haskama that he writes, there's a 3-page share of his on Tehillim that's printed in the Sefer. Do you know what the question he asks begins to share with? What is Tehillim? Is it the Tefillah or is it Limud HaTorah? And he proves from this of Shlomo Zalman that we had that it's a din in Limud HaTorah. And he goes through a few nafkaminas. Reisman was ready to, if you look on the bottom of your sheets, quotes, he says, look, once you say that, like this from Shlomo Zalman, that Tehillim is Limud HaTorah, so one halach nafkamina is, then you really have to understand what you're saying. Talmud Torah is not just saying words, it's learning Torah, understanding it. So if you don't understand it, you shouldn't say it. Which he therefore goes and says, right? Ezem mizmarim tehillim yivchar. Which tehillim should you choose to say? So, okay. He says there's an element, of course, to be more bitachon in Hashem. But tehillim that you could understand their meaning. It will be better for someone to say Tehillim, which you understand the meaning of those words, than the parak Tehillim, which fits closely to the situation you're in. Because if the element of Tehillim is the understanding of Tehillim, it's like Talmud Torah, and that's what you should do. He goes through, he wants to tie this in so many other halachos. Let's say we started off, we started talking about saying Tehillim at night. So there are poskim that say, right, that we do not recite Tehillim at night. But he says, but if it's, that's all if it's a din. He wants to be machalik, right? He says, you want to say psukim at night, that's all if it's a tefillah. That's a Limud HaTorah. Well, tefillah, you're allowed to daven at night. So the tzad to be allowed to say Tehillim at night is tefillah. But if Tehillim is understood as Limud HaTorah, it's not so simple then to say Tehillim at night. Something he writes in the later and put all of it on.
Shlomo Zalman always says bigger, it could be above.
So I'll get to that in a moment. Where Shlomo Zalman though does say the element of the kavanah, right? He writes in the bottom, the end of Shlomo Zalman, the kivan shekem shita shetzarach lavim be'er shamila sheyot moti mipiv chav mezahanal. If Tehillim is Limud HaTorah, Shlomo Zalman says it's pashat that you have to understand it. Otherwise, it's not Limud HaTorah. Yes.
I'm noticing. I'm just thinking about as a general rule when you're running Mishnayos, it has to be that way no matter what. But there's an idea that that's not necessarily the case by Pirkei Avos. there's an interesting dynamic going on here between the two.
Right. In general, we always say that Limud Torah, to the best of a person's ability, they should understand it. You're right. Could there be a hashpah of Torah, of uttering words of Torah? Yeah, there could be such a thing. But really, the power of Limud Torah comes from understanding. So Tehillim, if Tehillim is part of Limud Torah, then that's why Shlomo Zalman and Erasmus said the same thing off that. You have to understand it.
Right, but if it's Torah Shabbat, then that's not necessarily.
Oh, right. Torah Shabbat, right. Might be a little different. Torah Shabbat, Torah Shabbat. True. But I'll show you. I don't think this is so simple to learn it exclusively or strongly. Adin Limud Torah. To me, it looks like there's a little bit of what you call steers in the Mishnah Berurah. For example, the Mishnah Berurah in Siman Mem Tes. This is the halachos of, can a person say Daram Shebeksav Baal Peh? Can we recite Tehillim by heart? So in the middle of the piece there, the Chavetz Chaim in the Mishnah Berurah quotes Shuvas Chavos Yair. Mater Lomer Ko Sefer Tehillim Baal Peh. A person can recite the entire Sefer Tehillim by heart. The Kivan Shu the Ore Rachne Hashem Havalek Tefillah. Since the point of Tehillim is to bring about the Rachmanos of Hashem, so therefore it's like a tefillah. That sounds pretty beferish. The Chavetz Chaim is writing, that's a tefillah. Me'ila Kisa, and the second thing I saw Rabbi Reisman brought, the halachos of Tisha B'Av. We know in Tisha B'Av one can't learn Torah. Can one recite Tehillim on Tisha B'Av? So the Chavetz Chaim writes, this is Tav Kuf Nun Daled, Ozayin, V'nogim Lom Tehillim V'shir Yachid B'mincha. One could say Tehillim and Shir Shal Yachid after Chatzos by Mincha time. Avagav the Asr B'Talmud Torah Kol Yom, even though it's also to do Talmud Torah the whole day. Sarach Lomer Disriele, Kiva Shu Derech Bakasha, Shari, it's mutter. Once again, from this one, sounds like, this first part, sounds like he's saying that, okay, it's Derech Bakasha, it's not, it's a tefillah. He does bring Uve Punza, this place near Punza, Nogim Lomer Machrasal Shal Emesh V'Shal Hayom. They would not say the Shir Shal Yom. Seemingly, they would not say Tehillim. They would make up the Shir Shal Yom the next day. They do makeup. V'chei Nachon. And the Chavetz Chaim writes that's correct. So the V'chei Nachon, I saw Rabbi Reisman wanted to paskin that we do not say Tehillim on Tisha B'Av. And Menela, you want to say, okay, it must be because this is the Limud Torah. Yes?
How do we say Psukei D'Zimra?
Oh, interesting. Right? So there, I think there's no Shaila. Interesting point. By Pesukei D'Zimra, where we quote Psukim of Tehillim, there's no question they're doing it as a tefillah. Right? There, I don't think there's a Shaila. There we easily say that as a tefillah. We sometimes have the Shaila by davening, it's by Kriya Shema, right? The person, for some reason, his Berachos HaTorah didn't work, and now he wants to be Yotzei Avarabba. So the Shala's Psukim of Shema is that Limud Torah or not? For that, that's where that comes up. But Pesukei D'Zimra, I think we view that clearly as a tefillah. The question we're asking today is when you recite Tehillim, what's the understanding of Tehillim? The simple idea is it's a bakasha to Hashem. You're asking for Hashem. The chiddushdik idea, the novel idea, would be to know it's Limud Torah. It's a special Limud Torah. It's a Limud Torah that has dvekus with Hashem, and that's why we pick it. But it would seem to me that really, as Baruch that you set out, really it must be that there's a dual nature of it. It really has both. It has the power of a bakasha. The Chavetz Chaim writes at the Ferish. At the same time, there's also an element of Limud Torah. So it does get tricky, let's say on Tisha B'Av. Do you focus on the element that's a tefillah on the bakasha, and that one could do on a day like Tisha B'Av? Or do you focus on the element that it has limud Torah, and it also has limud Torah, and that's something you can't do on a Tisha B'Av? It's a tricky balance. It has both.
How are you doing it normally?
By where?
I'm saying, this person who's
Right.
who's
So I'll tell you a very
saying
interesting
something-
nafkamina.
Isn't it? You have to say in Stava that there's a dual thing going on here. We know. I mean, I don't know if it's like Rahina and Raya, but before there was a Beis Yaakov movement, Noshin Tzidkanios, who did not know how to translate Zod Tehillim.
Right.
So what were they doing? If
Oh,
it wasn't, it was
very
just
good point.
Limud, and they
Very
didn't
good
know what
point.
they were saying, and they were
The
saying
point that was brought up is we know that through the ages, women always said Tehillim, and especially he's saying pre-Beis Yaakov movement doesn't mean that they knew how to translate it. Okay, very good point. So I saw this following, and this I saw is very interesting. This is an interesting nafkamina. I thought Rav Shlomo Zalman and Rabbi Reisman clearly are saying it's chiefly limud Torah, to the extent if a person doesn't understand the Tehillim, you shouldn't say it. You should have to pick prakim that people understand what it means. But I saw beferish Rav David Feinstein, as you say, tanz tzvei chasnas. He did both. He said for sure that the koach schus of Tehillim is limud Torah. But at the same time, there's this element of tefillah there. Rav David says, even if you don't understand the words, it also works. So
There's also
it sounds like that there is this dual nature, and Mamela, yeah, it does affect what kapitlach we choose. Probably ideal, we should choose prakim that people understand, people know. It also means it's not us. It's always, if you're ever looking for a nice little seder or something to learn, the more you learn about the Tehillim, the better it is. It's a go-to thing that you'll have understanding in it. You'll have that dual nature of a schos.
If you also say it's only limud Torah, then like why do we ever stop learning to say Tehillim?
Right.
You also have a
You're not
problem.
doing a sus. So
Right. I'll tell you this.
You have-
Right. The question was raised, how do we even understand that? Let's say someone, in the yeshivas, where people are learning the whole time. Do we break to say Tehillim? When I went to yeshiva, by Flemons, I assume you'll back me up on this. Anytime there's a chol or something needed to say Tehillim, the original procedure we had back in the day in yeshiva was not right after davening. There was a Mishabura Seder. They waited till after the Mishabura Seder was finished to say Tehillim. That was the way it originally was, right? In my days, if you remember. At a certain point, there was a situation that Eretz Yisrael needed to feel us, and we started saying Tehillim for Eretz Yisrael. The cheshbon was that a lot of the people came for Shacharis. They weren't necessarily Kol Yom Galait, weren't Meshubit to be there for the Mishpur Seder. They would leave. So it was decided that the best way to get Rovam to say Tehillim would be to do it right after davening, even if it meant taking off a few moments from the Seder. So it really is a balance. Right? We wouldn't necessarily take off a limud Torah to say Tehillim. But the minhag for sure is an eighth sorrow when someone's bikuach nefesh. I believe in Lakewood they do that. Mashgiach was sick, they'll take off in the middle of Seder, they'll break everyone, that's when everyone's there, they would say Tehillim.
You also have an issue, I don't know, but the matzav we're in right now, if you're talking about Tehillim for a chol, I don't know. But when you have an ace tzara for a tzibur like this, so there's a din in Hilchos Tanis that you have to be lizok el Hashem, right? You have to daven.
Right.
So if you're telling me that Tehillim is just a limud, so when are you yotze the bakasha? Unless you say people have.
Oh no, so they say by Tehillim.
No, if
it's
it's a
interesting.
bakasha, so you yotze that.
Right.
But we're going to make a whole Torah.
You remind me of one important point. With this idea, the idea stated about Tehillim being limud Torah, there's no question though the ending. Let's say you make a mishaberach for a chola, or you say the tefillah of achenu. Those are tefillahs, and those are the things. Sometimes by shul there'll be a Tehillim. People stay for the Tehillim, and they run out as soon as they finish saying Tehillim. They should dafka make sure to stay for the mishaberach. Mishaberach should always be said out loud. The Achenu should be said out loud, because that for sure is a tefillah. And that would be Yotze, all these dinim of Za'aka and crying out. So just to summarize, we have a tremendous gift. Men, women, and children, everyone who's available, able to say Tehillim, is something very kedai to do. And, okay, it's something we do even on Shabbos, all situations at a time like this. We debated today, went through, is the koch of Tehillim from just, it's a special tefillah, or is it limud Torah, a special limud Torah, or is it really both? It has both those elements, and that's what makes it so special to us, something we really use. But really at this time, what everyone could do to generate schusim for Eretz Yisrael, we should do. And I feel it's only right. We all have different responsibilities and different things we could do for Eretz Yisrael. I feel as a tzibur, as a shir, we should be molaveh, and we should score it out. I'm saying these words as a verbal imo anochi, that our dear friend Alan is going to Eretz Yisrael, mamash for 2 weeks, to be mechazik the people in Eretz Yisrael. It's such a wonderful thing. And Alan, I could say on behalf of the shir, you're our shliach to go and mamash bring chizuk to people.
I give back for all you've been given.
It's really amazing. Alan, you're not just the shliach of us, you're really the shliach of the whole community. And it's really a wonderful, wonderful thing. You should be safe and have hatzlacha. And as Hashem, you should be the first one to dance with seeing Yeshua's, hopefully, the Kar B'Yameina. Okay, thank you very much, everyone, for coming. Yes.
The shir reminds me of what I saw years ago from one of my neighbors, about 10 generations ago. He writes in Sefer what Moshe Rabbeinu and David HaMelech had something in common. Whatever they did would be permanent, it could not be destroyed. That's why Moshe Rabbeinu couldn't go to Eretz Yisrael, because then afterwards they couldn't be goalless. David HaMelech likewise couldn't build the base of Mikdash. It says the Navi said because he's a man of word, but he said that my Zayd is that the real reason was that if David HaMelech had built the base of Mikdash, Hashem couldn't do Shafach HaMos or Lights and Balavon. So
That's a great point about.
So that they had in common, Moshe Rabbeinu and David HaMelech. Whatever they did, Moshe Rabbeinu was the shaliach for Torah Kedosha, and David HaMelech was the shaliach for Tehillim. So that shows that Tehillim has a milah which is equivalent to Torah Kedosha.
I mean,
Tremendous asset.
Okay. It's almost.
Okay, so go now. Okay, yeah. It's a wonderful share. Appreciate it.
But for him, it's even that. So yeah, it's incredible.
All right.
Rabbi Shlomo, thank you.
I want to know what,
It's toys. It's
say, no, say, a lot of people collect.
Well, thank you very much.
Like all sorts of things. I'm not sure.
Thanks so much. Yeah, no, I figured if I have this show and then afterwards I can give everyone a toy or a game or a gift, it'll really enhance, I want them to go away happy, feeling that people care about them all over the world.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Basically, after Simple Star, they asked all Americans to fill out a form and email it in to the American Embassy.
Yeah.
And last week, early in the week, Ariel got a phone call asking if he's okay, if he wants to stay, or if he wants to come back.
Really?
So the part he didn't figure out was, why did he get a phone call? Because DeSantis sent the plane. Wanted to come back to Florida. He's got a Florida license.
Wow.
So they had him on the list as Florida. So his whole family could have come back for free.
Yeah.